Chris Johnson, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Chris. 2 Chris's.
Yeah, I'm at C squared.
Pretty
right?
square.
Right, pretty squared, yeah. Absolutely. Man, I've been excited to have you on. You're a very multifaceted guy, and we're going to have a lot to talk about. So just for the folks that are watching or listening, Chris is the CEO of Advanced Genetics. He's the author of Happyology and also a dog trainer, and the company's Be the Alpha Dog.
Right. Yeah, we got a few things on the go.
Man, how do you keep track of all of it?
Well, luckily, I'm passionate about everything that I do, so it's not overwhelming. But I make time. Some of these things have been going for a long time, and some of the things are extremely new.
Yeah.
Like the dog training is very new. I don't even know if I feel comfortable calling myself a dog trainer yet, but it's something I really enjoy and something that is really taking up a bit of my time at the moment.
Amen. Yeah, absolutely. Everybody starts somewhere. And I mean, I think if anything, if you're passionate about something, you'll be successful.
Yeah. I have a lot of good tips.
Absolutely. And speaking of like stuff being around for a long time, I mean, that's a good segue into our first kind of little bit here. Like, we've known each other for quite a long time, and it kind of stems back to, for those that are listening, we used to be, or you're an IFBB pro, so bodybuilding pro, and we know each other from like the amateur bodybuilding days, or at least my amateur days, competing provincially.
What was your first show?
My first show was the Nova Scotia bodybuilding provincials in 2012.
2012.
So
okay, I think my first one was 2005. I was like 19 or 20.
Amazing.
If that math works out. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not a great mathematician either. I have Google Sheets in my phone.
Yeah.
So,
or maybe not. Actually, no, it was before that, because 2005 is when I started Advanced Genetics. So I would have, no, that doesn't work out at all. It would have been much before that, probably maybe the 90s when I did my first show, because I'm 49, so minus 29 years.
Right.
So whatever, 223. So we were in the 90s for my first show. Probably like 97 or something.
And you were already a pro when we'd met, yes?
No, I turned pro in 2010.
2010.
Yeah. I had won in, I can't remember the year. I think it's 2010 I won. No, I get all the dates confused. 2010 is when I won national bodybuilding show. So I won the welterweight category at nationals. And I think that was in Edmonton in 2010. When I was 40 is when I actually turned pro.
Okay.
And to be exact, I turned pro as a men's physique athlete.
Right.
So men's physique had just come in
I remember
that year, so 9 years ago. And I had to start right at the beginning and re-qualify as a men's physique athlete. So, but I was really fortunate. I re-qualified, won provincials, qualified for nationals, went to nationals, and got my pro card. So depending on how you looked at it, it either took me 20 years to get my pro card or 1 year.
Right. Yeah, I know, because you were hard into the bodybuilding piece, and then that new opportunity come up to try something different.
Yeah.
And, a lot of guys kind of went that route. So when was your first bodybuilding show?
I was 20, either 19 or 20. And it was my first or second year of university. And I remember that show. It was the hardest show I've ever done, because I didn't really know what I was doing. Yeah. It's really what spurred my interest in supplementation and nutrition and got me really involved. But I can remember, because I was going to St. Mary's University, and there was exam week, the week that the competition was.
Right.
I had dieted.
Often is.
I had dieted from 180 pounds down to 135 pounds.
Wow.
On pretty much nothing but white rice and egg whites.
Amazing.
Which is not the way to do it. But at the time, it was the knowledge that I had, and I did a lot of cardio and really lost a fair bit of muscle, as you can imagine. But it was the hardest prep I ever did, and no prep was ever quite as difficult from then on. So it's glad to get it out of the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I can kind of sympathize. Me and my wife both competed as well.
Yeah.
And we kind of did the same thing. Obviously, she kind of come out of nowhere. One day she was just like, I'm going to do a fitness show. And that's what she called it at the time. And I was like, oh, well, all right. I guess I'll jump into this, because we were always gym goers and stuff. Yeah. And we kind of just just dove right in. And yeah, I remember like we just literally looked on like bodybuilding.com, like what people were doing for diets and like workout routines, and we kind of same thing. It was pretty lean, man. It's like chicken, rice, fish, rice, a little bit of veg. Like it was tough.
Yeah.
You know, you just thought that was kind of what it took to get to where these people
Yeah, it's like an old school mentality, you know, which still has some merit, but certainly nutrition has come a long way. And certainly coaching has come a long way too. Yeah. There's so many coaches and lots of information on nutrition and supplementation now. So it's the internet has been kind of a wonderful thing.
Yeah, kind of, you know, depending on how you look at it, some facets, a blessing or a curse, you know. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, we got more information than ever. It's available at your fingertips. You can look anything up in a blink of an eye. So yeah, when did you kind of start looking at, you know, building this supplement business? Like, when did you realize that there was kind of a need, especially, you know, locally? Yeah. You know, the supplement industry, I mean, maybe it was because I was just in the industry, but it seemed like it really blew up around that, like the early 2000s, later 2000s, when we kind of were doing that bodybuilding thing. Like, I feel like the industry was kind of thriving.
Yeah, well, supplements started gaining their popularity about then. So we started seeing the advent of supplement stores, a few online stores. I know I started my first online supplement store in 99.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And that was like pretty revolutionary.
Yeah, that was very, very early on in the game. I was working at the casino at the time, so in my early 20s, and I love supplements. I really like the idea of getting from point A to point B more quickly, right? And you can do everything through nutrition and training for sure, but to optimize your health and to optimize your progress in the gym, taking some really good scientific based supplements to me is a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
So I started like really delving into it. I was a huge fan of Bill Phillips and EAS, and they had his Muscle Media 2000 magazine.
Yeah,
I still have all of them at home. I still read them. They're actually super relevant even to today. So I devoured those. I found a wholesale distributor, and I actually would purchase from them and resell. So I was doing it out of I literally lived in a 1-bedroom apartment that was no bigger than this room. Wow. It was like I had my little bed, and next to my bed I had my fridge. I didn't even have a kitchen sink. I just do all my dishes in the tub. It was great. But I had the shelf of supplements I'd buy direct from these guys, and I sold some. I was in the reserves as well, so I had like a little bit of a network. Casino people in the reserves, and friends and gym people at the gym and stuff. So, and it was before there were really many supplement stores. I mean, there were no supplement kings at the time.
Yeah, Roger King wasn't even in the scene.
No, I think Popeyes was only like a mail order sort of thing.
Did
at
Matt
the time.
still have his TanFit? Did he have TanFit?
Maybe he might have.
Shout out to TanFit.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not sure. I know he's been around for quite a while.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the first. I remember there's also the first chain I saw in Halifax was called Muscle Tech, and they had like three stores eventually, no longer around. But anyway, so that's kind of how I started, and then I caught wind that they were looking for a sales rep for the Maritimes, this company that I was buying from, and I applied and I got the job.
Right.
So I worked at that part-time. I worked at the casino full-time. Eventually, I was able to build the business up enough that I was able to do the sales job full-time, and I really enjoyed it. I worked as an independent sales rep, paid strictly on commission, which was, I like it. I know if it doesn't work for a lot of people, but
I know all about that.
I'm all about, I like, I believe in being rewarded for the work you do. And one way to ensure that you're doing work is to get paid on commission only.
Absolutely.
So I liked it. It also gave me the opportunity, because it wasn't a big industry. And I did have a huge area, but there weren't that many stores. A lot of the supplement stores at the time were the vitamin kind of stores, that also sold like oatmeal by the bulk and all these different
those nutrition, wellness stores, whatever.
So like country store type things. So that was cool. But because there weren't that many stores, I was able, because I was an independent sales rep, to bring on other companies. So I started working for other distributors. So I was working for multiple distributors all the time, just getting paid strictly on commission because I was the only fair way to do it. And so I ended up working for like big companies. I was working for Metrex for a while, which is like the first
strongman replacement. First thing that company comes to mind.
Muscle Tech, Labrada. We had Sport Pharma, which was a big brand at the time. So I had all these brands that I was working with, and I learned all the good, bad, and uglies, I guess, of the supplement industry. And one day I was like, you know what? I love a lot of these supplements are amazing, but if I could create the one perfect supplement that I would use all the time, this would be it. And I kind of created it. And I said, why don't I start a company and we'll see if other people like it. Worst case scenario is I have a lifetime supply of this one product that I really like. That's how I went into it. And still the mentality I use today is if I launch a new product, if I have the enthusiasm and excitement and energy behind it, then always the worst case scenario is I'll use it myself. It's not the end of the world.
What was the OG?
So the first product was GP3, which still exists today, actually.
I've used it.
Yeah. And originally it was a capsule product.
Yeah.
And it was a creatine, a pH balanced creatine. It was a glutamine and branched chain amino acids. And the branched chains and the glutamine were in AKG format, which, was a more highly absorbable format, which we believed at the time. And, it's still, the product still kind of holds up today, but, obviously the evolution of the science has changed and
been some innovation.
There's been a lot of innovations, a lot of new different types of creatine. Glutamine has been shown to be awesome for gut health. I don't know if it really helps promote a whole lot of muscle growth, but and also I'm a huge fan of EAAs over BCAAs. Just to be like more complete. Instead of just 3 amino acids, you have 9. And the EAAs, though they have their benefits, when you have all 9 essential amino acids, you're basically taking a concentrated protein.
Okay.
So I'm a bigger fan of EAAs, and things develop and science change, and you change with the times. But at the time, for me, that was like the perfect product. It was convenient because you didn't have to have 3 different products with all the different powders and everything. It was just capsules, which I always preferred. They were so easy. There's a lot of capsules. I think it was like 8 capsules or something you had to take. It's quite a lot. But people also responded to it well, and they actually noticed that they got very good results because it did give results. Luckily I had some friends, and they were able to introduce it to GNC for me, and they picked it up nationwide, so that was cool. GNC is no longer around in Canada.
Yeah, I know. When would have been the date that you guys got picked up nationally?
It was around 2005, because I know I did a cross Canada tour in like 2005 or 2006, where I actually drove my truck. I had it shipped out on a train to BC, and then I drove back, and I did it in the middle of February, which was ridiculous. But I'm kind of like the kind of guy that, strike while it's hot. Like
go time.
Yeah. We're just getting in all these stores. We have a number of other independent stores that we're picking up, and I wanted to put a face to the brand as quickly as possible for these guys. And it just so happened they picked it up in like January. So I said, let's go. February, we're going.
Yeah.
And that's quite the adventure.
Get after it.
Get after it.
Man, so you got a few products here you brought me, and I really appreciate that. So we got this one here, Dark, Carbon Fiber, and Kamikaze.
Yeah. So Go Dark, that's our sleep aid. I developed that, once again. Like I said, I developed it for myself because I found I was becoming a little dependent on pharmaceutical sleep aids. Just stress and things early on with businesses, being independent, not knowing how to manage that stress at the time
big learning.
very well. Sleep was something that didn't feel I was getting the quality that I needed. So I did a bunch of research into what the best natural sleep ingredients are. So it's fantastic. And I use it literally every night. I've used it every night for years.
Yeah, that's one thing I can definitely say, especially, like to your point, like full commission sales, starting up a new business, your mind's always on the business. It never really shuts off. So like, oftentimes I find myself, it's like, really having a difficult time just like kind of switching off, gearing down, and just getting like rested up for the next day. Because I like to, we also kind of reconnected through the jiu-jitsu gym. So I train 6 a.m. It just works the best for my schedule lately because like nobody needs me at 6 a.m. Like very seldom does somebody need Chris at 6 a.m. So I'm really looking forward to trying that.
Cool.
To help me kind of wind down and, get that sleep, because we all know that sleep's very important for not only muscle tissue recovery, mental, everything. So
it's key.
And I'm sure you can
critical.
Speak more to it.
Yeah, so we use some herbal ingredients. We have 5-HTP. We have the perfect dose of melatonin. We have valerian root in there. And we also have ZMA, so zinc and magnesium, which are critical. Most people are deficient in both of those minerals. It's super important. Zinc, with the whole COVID thing, people saw the importance of zinc for immunity. Magnesium helps a lot. Sometimes people have like the restless leg syndrome.
I have that.
Yeah,
really.
That'll help.
Really?
Yeah, the magnesium will.
Man, my wife, she will love you because like she'll like give me a shot in the ribs because I'm like doing the running man in the bed and under the sheets. It's just like, and it drives her nuts.
It's a magnesium deficiency.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, she said that, and I heard of that, and she had mentioned it, and then I just found maybe it wasn't enough or the right one.
It might not have been the right magnesium as well, because there are different magnesiums. There's magnesiums that help you poop, and there's magnesiums that help with like brain function and stuff.
I think I was using bicyclinate.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one too. But we use I think it's the aspartate, I think. So you'll find it works really, really well.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I just went to like the superstore pharmacy or whatever. It wasn't any. Or she might have come back with it. She's like, here, start taking this. I can't stand it.
Yeah. Well, hopefully you find it really good. I look forward to hearing your
Yeah, I definitely, now that especially with the restless leg thing, but I was looking forward to it anyway, because it's been, it kind of comes and goes too. It's weird. So it must be like dietary. I might have to keep a closer eye on that.
Yeah.
Awesome. And then we got another thing that I had, the carbon fiber. I had some issues with digestion at the end of like my called bodybuilding career or saga. You know what it is, trying to bulk up and like eat a certain amount of calories in a surplus eventually becomes a chore, and like your body just starts saying like, no, like we don't want this.
One of the things I find I'm a holistic nutritionist as well. One of the things that I find with a lot of people in bodybuilding is they eat the same stuff over and over again, especially the same proteins over and over again, right? Chicken all the time. And it's really important to rotate your protein sources. For many reasons, but at the end, usually what happens is you develop a little bit of an intolerance for different proteins. Mm-hmm. And I'm personal experience with that. At one point, I was intolerant to whey, eggs, chicken, all the same.
Ones.
Yeah, all the main.
Couldn't keep it down.
So now a lot of people who know me well kind of joke because they know I eat all these different kind of meats and stuff. Everything like elk and venison and kangaroo and
kangaroo.
Yeah, really.
Is it good?
Mix it up. Yeah, it's good.
Where do you get it?
Yeah, I get it from Olden Farms.
Olden Farms.
So yeah, they
know them down.
Yeah, down
there.
Martok way.
Yeah. Interesting. Kangaroo is a high protein, low
lean. It's pretty good. Yeah, it's good protein. Yeah, it's very much like a lot of the other proteins as far as grams of protein and fats and things. Yeah, it's good. It's good to mix it up.
I can't get enough variety now. Like I almost made it a point like to like schedule so I like know to make something different, because like I had that exact issue. Like egg whites, can't even do it today.
Yeah,
whole eggs only.
Lots of people have problems with eggs. It's one of those things that you can develop an intolerance to real quick. So
I don't know what it was, but
just ate too many.
Yeah. Well, they say you could get sick of stuff like if you ate too much of it when you're young, and it's like
that's the telltale sign. Some people's old school bodybuilders be like, they have that can of tuna or whatever in front of you, and you're just like ready to ralph, and they're like, tough it up, man.
Right.
Gotta get in.
Get it in.
Do you want it bad enough? You want it bad enough?
That's
you'll eat it.
Right.
But it's your body saying, I can't. I'm going to reject this one way or another. It's getting rejected.
Yeah.
So you can put it in me, but it's not going to work well.
It's coming out somewhere. Anyway, so where would you see like carbon fiber fitting in for somebody in their kind of day-to-day routine?
Most people don't get enough fiber in their diet. We need like 30 to 40 grams. And it's kind of tough this day and age to get enough fiber in your diet. Most of us don't eat enough fruits and vegetables and things.
The worst.
Yeah. We also have another product called Athlete Superfood, actually, which has the concentration of 6 to 8 fruits and vegetables in one single tiny little scoop, which makes it really easy. And it tastes really good. And it's a stevia sweetened as well. So there's no sugar or anything in it, but it tastes awesome. And most greens are a little tough to
Absolutely. Yeah. And I mean, to get a proper portion of like vitamins out of them, you got to eat a fair size.
You do. You really do. And also the fruits and vegetables these days aren't necessarily as good as they were years ago. But try to buy organic and all that sort of stuff the best that you can. But yeah, I mean, gut health is critical. It's something that I talk about in happyology. And the gut is really referred to as the second brain. There's the enteric system that goes between your stomach and your brain is critical to have that working properly. They linked all kinds of diseases to poor gut biome, things that they thought were kind of more of a brain thing, or now they're realizing it's more of a gut thing. Right. So, product like carbon fiber can help. It's got 2 forms of fiber. It's got psyllium husk and it's got inulin. So it's really well-rounded and both have their strengths. So that's why you put both in there.
Yeah, man. I mean, I definitely don't get enough fiber. My buddy used to have the funniest excuse. Like we'd go out to eat and he'd specifically request like no vegetables, even though like he's paying for them. And we'd be like, man, just don't eat them. He's like, nah, don't want them. He's like, the cow that ate this steak was eating grass. That's good enough. Like,
yeah. I know that the people that argue the carnivore diet will certainly argue that, but
well, I was curious, kind of like that was kind of one of the topics or questions I had. Did you have any, like, being in that industry, like, do you have any comments? Like, I know like Joe Rogan and them, they're big into it. They seem to think it's the best. And like, guys like, listen to Jordan Peterson. He claims he got rid of a whole bunch of ailments. I mean, there's a million ways to do stuff, but you kind of wonder what.
Well, extreme diets can help for extreme circumstances. So you mentioned Jordan Peterson. He had a lot of allergies to a lot of foods, almost seemingly any sort of carbohydrate he had an issue with. And if it helps an individual, there's no arguing whether or not it helps them. They know themselves that it's a life changer. So I would never tell someone not to try something. I think as long as but you have to do your research. That's the other thing. I see so many people trying like ketogenic diets. They simply have no idea.
They don't know
what they're doing.
They think they can eat bacon and fat all day.
Well, exactly. I mean, no matter what diet you choose or try, I mean, you should always be going for the highest quality stuff.
Highest quality.
I've always been a firm believer that the majority of your income should go towards food. Well, that's not true. It depends how much money you're making, but a priority should be food. That's where, if it's a choice between a new pair of sneakers and like high quality meats, then high quality meats win all the time. Right.
That was a rule at my house. Dad always said, he's like, you might not always have the best hockey gear or the best toys or, whatever age we were at the time. But he's like, one thing I can guarantee is the fridge and freezer will always be full of food and you'll never have to ask to go in there.
Nice.
So like that was always like a big point for us is like, good food. Like my parents were like meat, potatoes, vegetable, like every, meal every night, it was always kind of centered around that. So very fortunate in that sense, but also that rural kind of upbringing also had some, not so nutritious stuff in there too. But overall, we were pretty well fed, pretty well rounded. Like mom kind of kept the house, and she did a great job at keeping us healthy. We're always playing hockey too. So
yeah, that activity level is really important.
Yeah.
I was never really very active as a kid.
No?
I've always been very low energy kind of person, believe it or not. And part of it was nutrition. I wouldn't say my nutrition was the best growing up.
No.
We had a lot of TV dinners and
we had that stuff
chicken
too.
cutlets. I remember chicken cutlets being one of my favorite foods growing up. And then one day, it was probably from eating just too many of them, I was like, they disgusted me. I mean, and they're gross. They're just like some sort of processed chicken, I think, that's breaded.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever even heard of chicken cutlets, but yeah, they all look the same. And so it wasn't the best, but you learn over time.
Yeah.
And it became a passion in my teens, is trying to build muscle and increase my performance, and it made a huge difference, of course.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Do you find I found in my teens too, that was all of a sudden a big focus. Just wanted to get jacked and go to the gym and be healthy and be fit. And is that something you've observed is kind of a trend for most, I
think as you're when you're a teenager and your testosterone levels start to go up, I think that has maybe something to do with it. You start comparing yourself to other people a lot too, as a teenager,
especially with social media.
Yeah, and some people never go out of that.
Right.
But especially today, I can't imagine what it'd be like to be a teenager today. I'm so grateful I'm not. And then, I mean, for me, I don't know if it had to be being short. I mean, both of us are pretty
5'6" on a good day,
physically impaired,
right?
So I don't know if that had something to do with it. I don't know. I think I always wanted to do something that felt athletic, but sports I was never really that good at sports. I was in junior high, I played B team kind of. I remember back then they had A team. That's where all the good players were, and the B team was kind of for everybody else that just wanted to play and be included or whatever. So I was more of a B team guy, and I think it. Actually, I was thinking about this earlier about sports when I was a kid, and I think I put a lot of pressure on myself because I always had this fear of failure ingrained in me. That thing that I never was quite good enough. So I think that made sports for me really difficult because I think I overthought things way too much. I would play, instead of being in the present moment in the game, I'd be thinking of all the possible outcomes of what could happen, and it really impaired the performance because you're just way too up in your head. The best athletes are so present, and it's almost as if things are just done out of pure muscle memory because it's just everything's so fast and fluid and second nature, where someone else who's thinking about all the different possibilities, it gets in real trouble.
Yeah, man. And absolutely. I can feel jiu-jitsu is kind of synonymous with that, especially when you compare somebody that's just started versus I'm a second-degree purple belt, and I've just recently found when I'm doing jiu-jitsu, I'm just thinking about what I'm going to do. I'm not thinking about it's just total focus.
Yeah.
And one thing for me, I remember being young and my parents did a great job. I don't even remember having a choice getting into any of the sports I started. And I did everything hockey. Next thing I was in skates, baseball. I was at the field, soccer, golf. They dropped me off for the day. Be we'll pick you up at dark.
Nice.
So I was exposed to all this stuff, and we had not to dig at them, but pretty high, standard of performance. That was always performance was always pretty important, whether it was school or hockey. They put us in a lot of stuff, but we always had to be pretty good at everything. Yeah. So yeah, I kind of just got used to, to your point, when you guys signed the national deal, you kind of just jumped right in and got after it. I feel that was kind of ingrained in, it was because I just got thrown into stuff. I was all right, we're doing this.
Yeah.
So it kind of just developed that, I'm ready to go kind of type thing. And I think it bodes quite well to, my development since I joined jiu-jitsu too. So. Yeah,
it's, and I think that's why I liked, but the bodybuilding and the working out is because I found that for that I could be present because it was just me.
Right.
I didn't have to worry about
You control the outcome.
I control. I didn't have to worry about other teammates or anything like that.
External.
It was just me. And it was probably my first kind of exposure to meditation too, because when you're doing an exercise that requires all of your focus, you're not thinking about all the different things that are going on in your life. You're right there in that moment. And I think that's what I liked. I also liked the feeling of like a pump.
Absolutely.
And looking different when looking different from like when I went into the gym and then coming out, having that pump on and looking at myself without my shirt on, going,
right.
Whoa, there's actually something
Who is that?
starting to happen. And those, beginner gains that you get in the first, 6 months of training. Now they're very exciting.
They are very exciting.
Don't continue, but
Right,
they're very exciting.
They peter out pretty quick.
Pretty quick.
Right.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, you get a big bump and then it kind of really levels off and you got to fight tooth and nail for anything above that for quite some time.
I remember when I started, I was measuring everything and I was measuring my arms and I made a little graph and I said, okay, if things continue this way, within 3 years, I'm going to have the same size arms as Hulk Hogan, which I think they were like 21 or 22 inch arms, supposedly.
Right.
Right. From wrestling. And this is awesome. Like, this isn't going to take that. I can live with that 3 years, but that graph
Didn't hold up?
No.
Man.
No. I think 18, 17 and a half or so was probably the biggest they got, 17 and a half or maybe 18, which is pretty big for 5'5".
Yeah.
So
yeah, I was pretty square too for a little bit. Yeah. I can't remember ever doing measurements or anything, but I'm probably pretty close.
Yeah, you're a big guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I really went hard. Like anything same with you, I'm sure like anything you do, you kind of do 150%.
Well, especially if you get into competition.
Yeah.
Right. That takes it to a whole nother level and gives the training a whole nother meaning. And I really like that as well. I liked pushing myself. I never had the win sort of mentality. I always wanted to do well, but I never put that pressure on myself that I had to win. Early on, I realized, especially with bodybuilding, that it was really up to the judges. And at the end of the day, as long as I felt confident on stage, knowing that I hadn't screwed up on my diet, I hadn't cheated, I hadn't cut out on my cardio, I had always showed up and trained as hard as I could. That I was confident, I was happy with that presentation. And I can't really ever remember being disappointed with my placing, except for maybe my first show, because I came like 5th and there was like maybe 6 people. And I came 5th, and like top 3 got a trophy, and the other guys got like a little plaque. I still have that plaque. Maybe I was a little disappointed, but other than that, I've always been pretty pleased with how things have gone, and always kind of got what I deserved, I feel, for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a pretty competitive guy. I mean, there's no secret around that for sure. I mean, it's why I did bodybuilding, all the sports. But yeah, I'm often focused on just trying to be lately more so like the best that I can be. And if that nets out to the best at whatever it is, then awesome. But if it's still just the best I can do, and I know that I'm, sincere and honest about, my efforts and, clients and the whole process, then,
you just got an award or something, didn't you?
Yeah. It was Administrator's Best Friend Award at our gala. Yeah.
Congratulations, I thought.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, those folks at the office, the girls, the admins, they do all the paperwork. They push everything through. They make, like I said, the wheels of the bus go around. So, I mean, it's a no-brainer to treat them with the utmost respect and kindness. I mean, they help us do our jobs. So, and I'm a big believer in trying to treat people how you want to be treated. So that's how I try and treat everybody.
Yeah, well, it's nice to get a nod that you're doing. You don't need the awards, but it's always nice to get a little recognition for
total surprise.
Yeah,
total surprise. So it was great. It felt really good to get, and a lot of people said some nice stuff. So it's like you say, I don't really need a pat on the back all the time, but every once in a while, especially when it's not expected. So
it's nice.
Yeah,
it's really nice. Yeah,
I don't want to forget about the kamikaze. I think that's the one that if you really need to get up and go, maybe for my 6 a.m. jiu-jitsu classes, I can take a little blast of that, skip the coffee, or keep the coffee.
Well, I'm not a coffee. No, you probably want to skip the coffee.
Right.
I've never been a coffee drinker because I do have a bit of a sensitive tummy to that sort of stuff. But I'm good with caffeine, and I do use it. I usually do 2 doses of caffeine a day. I do one first thing in the morning, and I make a little drink with all kinds of different things in it. And then usually around 1 or 2 in the afternoon, that's when I'll re-up. So the Kamikaze is fantastic for pre-workout, but I also use it just as an energy type drink.
Yeah.
And it's very strong. We put right on the front of the bottle there a warning, like do not exceed half a scoop. Most pre-workouts, half a scoop. Most pre-workouts are 1 to 2 scoops normally. If you take a full scoop of this, you're going to get 500 milligrams of caffeine. And if you take 2 scoops, you're going to get a full gram, and 500 milligrams is way too much for most people. So honestly, I do like quarter or half a scoop. That's what I do, and for me, that's just perfect. Because there's also other stimulants in there. There's also ingredients there to kind of just light your brain up and help you think more clearly.
Yeah, sometimes I need a little help getting that thing going, firing right.
Nootropics, and also there's a cool ingredient there, glycerol, which helps drive water into your muscles, so you get like really nice pumps too.
I did hear glycerol.
Yeah.
Who did I hear that from?
It's good for performance as well.
Man, I think it was maybe Greg Doucette used to put that in some different stuff.
Back in the day, like early on, glycerol used to come in like a syrup. And
maybe that's what.
Yeah, we used to use it sometimes. I mean, it was kind of one of those experimental things. I didn't really find it. I only did it for one show, and I didn't really find it work well. But what it can do is it pulls water from your skin, like
it's
into your
pre-contest
muscles.
stuff.
Yeah, so you can end up with much fuller muscles on stage if done correctly. So yeah, it's good, but that also helps with performance. If you have the more water intercellular fluid you have in your muscles, the bigger, the fuller they're going to appear, and also the performance goes up. It's one of the benefits of creatine as well.
Right, because you keep all that hydration in the muscle. Obviously, we need that to fuel ourselves as well as the oxygen. Yeah, that goes through the blood. So yeah, absolutely. Man, yeah, I know a guy at the gym. He might challenge you on the half scoop.
Certainly, it's not.
Let him try.
You need more, right? But yeah, we do just want people to be careful. If certainly for your first go, always just try like a quarter or a half scoop. Yeah. See how it goes. Maybe all that you need. And if you need a tiny bit more, well, it could be. It's either. It means you're not as sensitive, or it could possibly mean you need a little break from stimulants altogether.
Desensitize yourself, clean the receptors. Maybe I'm not sure if that's the right terminology.
100% right.
Okay.
Yeah, and, usually only takes a few days. It depends. I usually, if I find that I'm like the dose is getting a little higher, what I'll usually is I'll just cut back a little bit and just realize I'm not going to feel quite as stimulated. Or, the best is to just go off completely. But, sometimes if you're used to caffeine cutting off completely, you can get like little bits of headaches and things like that and feel that little bit of withdrawal, which is a little uncomfortable.
Right.
But I just usually cut back a little bit and then maybe go a day or 2 with nothing. And then I'm right back to sensitive again. For me, it takes no time to clear it out.
Yeah. I mean, I think it goes to say for like anything, like, if you drink a lot, that tolerance is going to go up. If you do whatever, in excess or consistently, I think it's going to, eventually you're going to build a tolerance, and you got to kind of, cycle things in and out. Like you say, like the meats and proteins and different things, like you can get insensitive. So yeah, man, that's awesome. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to trying all these things, because I'm a big coffee guy in the morning. But like you say, I'm up for trying to change too. And, maybe it'll get me to the gym a little quicker. I've been kind of dragging my behind there, getting there just before class. So, I'm getting ragged on a little bit for that. So I have to step it up.
Right on.
Another thing I want to talk to you about is your book, Happyology, 8 Secrets to the Strategies for Success. So tell us a little bit about that. I mean, that's pretty huge. Like, I remember I actually helped you out with a couple photos. For people that don't know, like, the reason I have all this stuff is mostly because I used to do a little bit of photography, mostly around the fitness bodybuilding, when my wife and I were into it. And, basically, so when we got out of that, we kind of lost interest, become just more a hobbyist. But had all this stuff and this idea come up, and it's a great way to reconnect with some people. And,
Yeah.
you know, that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, you'll see the pictures that you took if you go to happyologybook.com. The pictures that you took are there, and it's in all of our like advertising sort
Amazing.
of materials
That's
and all
cool,
sort of
man.
that. So yeah, I think I've been on a kind of a lifelong journey that, you know, makes sense of life, like a lot of us are. Right? You get to a point where you ask yourself a question like, is this what it's all about? Is this as good as it gets? What's the point? Sort of those kind of questions, and am I truly content with the way that I'm living my life, or is there possibly a better way? And you know, I had some depression and things
Sure.
through my life, and you know, some of it I think was learned, and some of it was possibly, you know, nutrition based. I also had colitis, pretty bad. In my early 20s, I was diagnosed with that, and certainly that didn't help much.
Okay.
So, you know, it's kind of just like this inner journey. So I learned a lot. I mean, it started kind of with nutrition and fixing all that kind of stuff, and or making it better at least. And then just kind of like questioning things and looking for answers. And so Happyology is basically just accumulation of the things that I found really helped me a lot. Because I can honestly say now I'm like super happy for the most part.
Yeah.
I mean, you still have old belief systems and little patterns of thinking that can still, I should say still come in once in a while, but I now have the tools to deal with them when they appear.
Yeah, man, I think it's important for everybody. I mean, you know, the guy you know from the bodybuilding days and the Chris today are two different people. You know, we all grow. And then same with me. I mean, we all go through our stuff. I mean, you know, we're going to get on the dog topic shortly, but like, you know, lost a job, had to start a new one, you know, dog got sick, dog passed away. So, you know, yeah, there's definitely been some low points, and, you know, a lot of, you know, especially when you kind of give almost 9 years of your life to a big company that you think maybe you got the chance of, you know, to retire with, or at least that's the kind of the song they sing you when you're young. It's like, if you work really hard, you'll always have a job.
Yeah.
But like, that's unfortunately not true, because most times you're a number on a spreadsheet, especially if you're getting a salary. But like you say, if you're on commission, you're performing, a little different. But yeah, I totally lost my train of thought there.
That's okay. That happens. I mean, that was, I'm sure, a really big turning point in your life.
Yeah.
You were probably asking a lot of those questions.
Yeah.
Like, you know, why this, you know, like seems really unfair. Why is this kind of happening to me? What did I do wrong? You're probably blaming yourself for a lot of the stuff. And, you know, a lot of us don't have the answers right away. So we kind of have to search for them. Yeah. And so that's really what I hope this book does, is gives some people some of the answers. And it's a really practical book, and it's very short. The text is quite big. It's like 100 pages. So it's really easy to read. And my goal with this book, you know, you know, the business is advanced genetics and a couple other businesses that I have. This was more like something that I felt was something I could give back to people.
Like a passion project.
Yeah. I actually, right now, the book's free. If you go to happyologybook.com, you just pay for shipping, and it's yours in hard.
Yeah, I actually noticed that when I went on the website.
Yeah. And I've already got feedback from, you know, like I said, my goal is, if it helps one person, it's awesome. It was worth my investment. And I've had multiple people say that it's helped them quite a bit. So it's already paid itself back in dividends as far as good karma and making me feel good.
Absolutely.
You know? So I'm really happy about that. But yeah, it's super practical. So it starts off, you know, talking about something as simple as you know, cleaning your space, right? Taking the chaos out of your space. And if everything's kind of chaotic, the whole, you know, if your whole house, for example, or your whole office is a mess, maybe you just concentrate on one spot, you know, the place where you spend the most time, and then gradually, you know, clean up the other spots. Because it's true that if you're living in a chaotic environment, it's gonna be much harder for you to find a calm from within.
Absolutely.
And then we talk about nutrition a little bit and gut health, which we kind of talked about, and some examples on how to, get that fixed up. Because, if you're sick, all you have to do is think about a time when you were not well, maybe like food poisoning or something like that. Which is one of the worst.
Oh,
but imagine trying to be happy, to feel happy when you're sick. And the problem is a lot of us are walking around sick all the time. We don't even necessarily know it because we just kind of accept the sick as normal.
Because we've been feeling the way we're feeling for so long. It's just almost like programmed that this is just how it should be.
Right. And our, people around us are all sick and everything else. So, so it teaches people a little bit about that. Some of the things that you can change almost immediately and try to, increase your physical health, which is so critical because we're not separate. Our minds and bodies are not separate. It's all one, unified thing. So we have to take care of it all.
I feel like oftentimes people really kind of separate them out and kind of look at them as individual. But like you say, I think it's something you have to have like a certain synergistic approach to, like the mind and the body to get the 150% you want out of life. I mean, I think it's necessary. And I mean, I've made the stand for myself to, always try and maintain a healthy, active lifestyle and a physique that, performs how I want it to. And, I never want to be in a position. I mean, everybody's got their things. You might have an accident or an issue that you can't control. But, as far as what I can control right now is definitely my health and my fitness and my mind, which is, I'm sure a lot of people can attest to, the last couple of years, kind of with the pandemic and all that uncertainty and, people telling you what to do and all the rules and the regs and the fear. It's great to have a resource like this because, mental wellness is a huge topic these days. And we definitely don't have enough support around it. So, to have something like this, that's a quick read, and like you say, if you can help somebody, even one person, I mean, I'm sure that's really fulfilling.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And have you seen, the book came out what date?
Good question. I can't remember. I think it's been out for a year or two.
Okay.
Yeah. It was in the works for a few years because I don't know when you took those pictures. It was
a while ago. Yeah.
A while ago.
Because I haven't done that in.
I think it was five or 6 years ago, actually, or 5 years ago, I wrote it. It took a couple of years to kind of get through all the publishing and everything. And, but yeah, it's, I actually just kind of reread it last night and there's not really much that I would change. Everything's pretty much the same, same stuff. I talked a little bit about meditation in there, which I think is so important. Well, it's so helpful, and it's helpful on so many levels, even helping grow like gray matter, like your actual brain itself. It can be beneficial. Yeah, it keeps it healthy. But it lowers, things like cortisol and stress levels and learning how to breathe. That's one of the cool things about meditation. It teaches you how to breathe. So even just in your everyday, when you're walking around and you catch yourself with those short breaths, those stress breaths, which unfortunately, I feel like a lot of us live in that stress breath. And very few of us take those deep breaths to calm ourselves down. And it's funny because when you do, sometimes I've sat with people before and kind of coached them through a meditation session, and watching them breathe almost for the first time, it's quite something.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely did a big push for it. I got to get back to it. I started doing some meditation using Sam Harris's app.
Okay.
The Waking Up app. Are you familiar with?
I know Sam Harris.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
so it's essentially just like an app, and it's got a bunch of different guided meditations for like intro, medium, whatever your level is. There's different styles. I just found I know I need it, and then some days I'm just like, oh, sure, and I'm just like not doing it. But yeah, I found it was really beneficial, just in the breathing aspect. And I also read or listened to the book. I think it's called Breathe.
Possibly.
Which is all about the nose and how you're supposed to breathe through the nose. There's these two I wish I had a Jamie to look this stuff up.
You just ask the Google.
Right? Like, maybe.
Yeah. Hey, Google, who wrote the book Breathe?
James Nestor. On the website Amazon.ca, they say James Nestor is an author and journalist who has written for Scientific American, Outside, The New York Times, The Atlantic, and more. His latest book, Breath, The New Science of a Lost Art, was an instant New York Times and London Sunday Times bestseller and will be translated into more than 35 languages. To find out more, look for the link in your Google Home or
Hey, Google, stop. But that's awesome. I love the.
Okay, I cancel it.
Even though it scares me that she's probably always listening to me and signing off all my secret information, I still love it, and I have one in almost every room.
I use it, man. It's like my assistant sitting next to my desk. I say, hey, no, I'm not. I got to say Google, but schedule a new event.
Yeah.
So like I'd be like, hey, schedule a podcast with Chris Johnson. Date, time, boom, done. It's just like freeing. So like AI and stuff like for that, I found it's awesome, but it's scary at the same time.
Yeah.
That's why it's down here.
Yeah. We were very fortunate. My wife and I went to Rishikesh in India, which is kind of like the center for yoga and spirituality in India. And India is a very spiritual country. And we were able to take a course there. And a big part of it was meditation. So
I think it's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. So we got to study with a yogi every day, and we learned all kinds of breathing techniques and things like that, and a little bit about Ayurvedic medicine, and we did yoga practice as well. It's quite an intensive couple weeks.
Sounds amazing.
It was amazing.
Yeah. It's definitely something I'd like to do at some point in the nearer future, is like some kind of retreat like that, and really kind of dive in, peel back some layers, and like you say, we all got to kind of do some searching, and find that happiness in what makes us kind of fulfilled. And I think that's what we're all looking for. It's just, I think some people are scared to get out there, or dig in.
I think a lot of people, it's that kind of expectation or desire to be perfect at something. And I think people try meditation, they feel like they fail at it, but there's no failing at meditation. You don't have to like clear your mind or travel, to different places or anything like that. It's just the practice of slowing things down and trying to create a pause between thought and emotion. I think that's also one of the biggest benefits of meditation, is you're really getting to learn how to see your thoughts. Because a lot of us, we have these conversations in our brains, and we sometimes get completely lost in them. And we're like, thinking about past, or we're worried about future kind of stuff. And
I get stuck back here a little bit.
Yeah. That's actually one of that is, you have to, we can talk about it and find it. Like, if you want to talk about it, we can talk about where you get stuck in the past. Where do you get stuck in the past? What do you find?
Just like, not to divulge too much, but like just, past transgressions that maybe you could have handled a bit better, or, stuff that just like maybe doesn't quite shake out your way, or like, lost my job, why me, dog got cancer, died. It's like, why did that happen? I just had that happen, this happened. It's like, so you're just like, could I did anything different? Could I have like avoided it? Could I have like, I'm a big, like, could I have fixed it? So, sometimes yes, maybe sometimes no.
So I could tell you what worked for me, and is to take some solace in the fact that at the time you did the best you could do. And although you know more now, and you wish that you knew then what you know now, it's impossible. You didn't. You did the very best that you can. It's also a great way to forgive other people too, is to realize they did the best that they could at the time. You just let it go.
Yeah, but definitely got a tough time with that too. Letting stuff go. Yeah, I mean, I can. It's just like, sometimes you just get like rubbed the wrong way, and it just like kind of sits there for a while. And you're really going to kind of, that's a great perspective, is to understand that we all did the best we could at the time.
All did the best you can. And then, from some of the hardest things that we go through, there's always a lesson there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be grateful for the lesson is also really important to getting over things and being able to let things go. I mean, there's people that have done things to you in your life that are almost unforgivable.
Yeah.
But if you can find it in your heart to realize that, you know, they might not have known what they were doing, or they might have had it done to themselves or whatever, and finding some compassion for that individual and realizing that, yeah, it happened, but you know what? I came out a stronger person, or I can choose to come out a stronger person. I can look for the lessons in it. I can also identify myself as a victim if I want, but identifying as a victim it's kind of makes you stick there.
Right.
And you live it over and over again. You're just a victim every single time you think about it. And it's not a comfortable place to be. No one wants to feel that way. So instead of that, kind of looking at the positives, and if you can even find it in yourself to be grateful for it, to be grateful for that horrific or unfair incident, because I come out now, I learned something powerful that I can maybe even share with other people and make their lives better.
Yeah, that's an amazing perspective to have on that. And I'm definitely going to be thinking about that a lot more. It's a great perspective. Wow. Yeah, maybe we segue into like the next thing as talking about how many things you're into. Obviously, you mentioned the dog. That was kind of my boy Thor. He was our first pup, and unfortunately, born June 26th, 2015, and he passed away June 7th, 2021. So he kind of come in the world in June, and he left.
Yeah.
And he was like our pride and joy, and Caitlin had he was a giant schnauzer. My wife had one. It was a rescue Raven. She had him early on in our relationship when we just first started dating, and poor guy got into some yarn and then ended up getting it anyway. They did everything they could. They went to PI, and I mean, they loved that dog just as much as we love ours, and it's just unfortunate didn't make it. But huge dog people. I also got my Loki Bear. He's a wire-haired pointer Griffon. I got pet names: Lulu Bear, Thorosaurus. Thor had like a huge head. He was a big giant schnauzer, so I just always he always had that head. I was just called him Thorosaurus. So that was his pet name. But yeah, we got Loki. We always had to get non-shedding hypoallergenic dogs because my wife's allergic to the regular fur.
Yep.
So Loki's my hunting dog. So training was always very much a high priority, because if I'm going to be hunting with a dog, there's obviously some huge risk. Safety was definitely a huge priority for him, because I'm the one with the firearm. And also, depending on the type of hunting, you could have a partner, rabbit, pheasant, duck. Hopefully PETA doesn't listen to this, but So I mean, I really hammered the training, the general obedience, and for I'm sure you can chat to it, but I found, especially in a hunting dog, even if you could nail that down, you'd have a pretty successful companion out there in the woods with you.
That's pretty advanced stuff.
Mm.
Have a hunting dog. I mean, some dogs have it in them to naturally kind of go towards that sort of training. It's kind of in their DNA more than other dogs.
Yeah, labs, retrievers.
Exactly.
Loki's a pointer, so he'll naturally point. Yeah. Even as a puppy, he'd come across this. He'd be stuck there for a minute. All right, Manly, I sold scent. Let's go.
Yeah, but it's the relationship that you build through the training that's so important, and it's what creates that strong bond.
Yeah.
As well. I have a few principles that I believe in. One is the importance of exercise. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, your wife is out walking your dogs right now, and that's so important. An hour and a half a day, you have to be able to commit to that. And I think it's so important that before you can get a dog, you have to be honest with yourself and say, will I walk the dog an hour and a half a day? Because if you can't, I mean, it's just putting him out in the backyard and thinking that him running around is enough. It's not enough. And it leads to a lot of behavioral issues, because they have all this pent up energy. It's in their DNA to walk.
Yeah.
You know, in the wild, they can be walking and hunting for up to like 10 hours at a time. So they're, you know, they want to move. I mean, humans are not that much different in that we also need to move. And we talked about exercise, the importance of exercise, and we really need it. So it is a wonderful excuse to get out. I personally was not a walker. My wife's a walker. She loves to walk. She'll get up in the morning, she'll walk. I find walking really boring, especially walking the same route all the time. I just can't get, but now that I have a dog, the enjoyment that she gets from walking makes walking a joy. I look forward to it every day, and it's great exercise for me. If I didn't weight train or do anything else, at least if I was walking, that'd be like an hour of exercise a day for me. I mean, it's a great excuse, and a great excuse to get in nature too.
100%. My best part of my day is I'll go train 6 a.m. I'll maybe shoot the shit with the guys and gals at the club for a bit. I'll get home, get my walking pants on for this time of year, and literally my insulated pants. Like Snow have really special pants. They don't do anything except keep me warm. But and I walk the Barrett Lumber property in Beaverbank. It's like 3 kilometers to the first lake and back.
Right.
And it's just all off leash gated. And talking about meditation, like just like walking and watching them just romp around from the logging road to in the forest to out the forest to chasing each other. It's just like it's just like a very calming thing to start the day with. And so I start my day every day with a walk to the lake. I get back, do my coffee, get in here, and you know, to your point, like giant schnauzer, wire-haired pointer griffon, they're all work dogs. If you leave these guys in the house, like they're just gonna go bonkers.
Yeah, the wonderful thing about dogs as well, that whole peacefulness that you get when you're out there, you're in nature, but also just observing them be present. And that's what I find one of the most powerful lessons that we can learn from our animals. I think it's one of the things that we love so much about them is how in the moment they are. And there's a whole chapter on the power of being in the present moment and trying to really cultivate that and be in the present moment as much as possible. You know, dogs just do it naturally.
Yeah.
You know, all animals, you know, as far as we know, are very much, that's all they do is live in the present moment. You know, dogs are quite advanced in their thought processes, and I do believe that they do have a sense of past and things like that, but they don't sit in that. You never see them, you know, sitting there like thinking about, you know, I wonder if we're gonna go for a walk today or not. They're just there, and they're just ready, and all, if you just see it in their eyes, they're just always present.
Oh man, like I can't. They're present in everything. I open the fridge, Lou's head's in there.
Right.
Hey, anything for me? I touch my coat. It's like, time to go for a walk? No? Okay, we'll lay back down. It's just like, they're on. They're like ready to, you want to rock and roll? We'll go. You want to Netflix and chill? Okay, we're fine. But as long as we got enough exercise.
Exactly. So yeah, exercise is one of the most important things. The next thing I feel like is giving proper leadership to your dog, making sure that they know that you are that. That's what the whole alpha dog thing is. Some people misinterpret it as a like strict physical discipline thing, which it's absolutely not. It's more of an energy thing. Mm-hmm. Because I find that if your animal knows that they are protected, that they're going to be fed, that, you know, when they go on walks with you, that they're safe, they like less misbehaving. When a dog feels that they need to lead you, that's when you get the problems. That's when you get a little bit more aggressiveness and things like that, more reactiveness and stuff. So, I mean, there's lots of little things that you can do to kind of present yourself as more of a pack leader. And, you know, it's important that everyone in the family, if you're someone with kids, that everyone is kind of like pack leaders. And it's, you know, we have this problem with the words submissive and dominance, because we think of them as aggressive things. Right. But it's not. For a dog, it's a wonderful thing to have all that stress off them, so they can just do, you know, they can exercise and play and eat and rest, and then you take all that responsibility off them. Is actually a wonderful thing, and you do it in a loving way. It's never a physical. I know there's some trainers that use physical force to like dominate their dog physically, and I don't think that's necessary at all. I think it's actually not necessary at all. I think when you get physical with an animal, or if you get physical with your children, if you get physical with your spouse, that's actually shows a loss of control. I think your dog sees that as like, this guy's fucking out of control. Like, like one day he's like patting my head, and one day he's like, smacking me in the face.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. So it's very confusing, and that's going to cause an unbalanced dog as well. So yeah, it's very loving. Lots of positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is one of the best ways to, train a dog, for sure, if not the best way. So it's a combination of energy and positive reinforcement, and then the third component to what I believe in is proper nutrition and which includes water, clean water.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so critical. We talk about gut health with humans. This is also just as important for dogs. Dogs having issues and things, it shouldn't. I mean, it's going to happen, but it shouldn't be as prevalent as it is.
Yeah.
Your story is not alone. There's lots of dogs, and it also causes misbehavior too. If the gut is upset, then just like humans, if you're feeling kind of shitty, you're not going to
be awesome.
You're not going to be as awesome as you could be.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And so those are my three basic principles that I develop Alpha Dog around.
Yeah, man, I think that's super reasonable and a great approach. Just to speak from a little bit of like experience in like, having to kind of rehabilitate a dog per se. So Lucifer, our new giant schnauzer that we rescued, unfortunately was kind of flagged by us by our breeder we got Thor from. She had a friend, she's out west. She had a friend in Ontario, called her and was like, hey, just got this family drop this dog off. And they're like, we're done. He was like just going to turn 1, something like that. And like our guy had just like 3 months, I think it was like that he'd been gone. And she, like, the breeder reached out to me and was like, hey, do you think like you and Caitlin could like give this dog a home? And I was like, whew.
It's hard. You're still grieving.
Right?
Yeah.
But then I was just like, man, I can't bear to think that this dog doesn't have a person to love him. And like, we have obviously the ability, and he's a non-shedding high blood. He's a giant schnauzer. And anyway, I thought it'd be like a whole thing. I mentioned to my wife and it was like, yeah, I'm going to Bathurst. She's meeting me there. You stay home, take care of Loki. I'll be back in like a couple of days. She took a friend, went, next thing he was here. But we have no idea how they treated him. He's still like more like Thor would have ran through that wall. He was not scared of anything. And like they're work dogs, watch dogs primarily, and like in Europe they're police dogs. I mean, not to paint them with a bad brush. He was a great guy, but like his house was his, like he'd let you know that, he was here.
Yeah.
Lou, he's more timid, and I don't know, like he was always like, I don't know if he was scared of us right away, but there's a lot of building our trust with him and confidence, and a lot of time, and he's very food motivated, very, like I've never seen anything.
Most dogs are. I mean, you can use that positive reinforcement with affection or treats or a combination of the two.
He has both.
I find the vast majority like the treats and affection.
Yeah. Yeah, Lou's like he's like a Velcro dog, but man, if you get between like his bowl, like we had to even get a slow feed bowl because he was just like trying to like inhale it like a vacuum. So I don't like, and it's hard to say because you're not going to reach out to the family that dropped it, because they were, I think, a little confused. They thought maybe they were going to drop the dog off to the breeder and they were going to like help it with some training because like, I don't know. There was a weird backstory. I was just like, wasn't really interested too much in hearing about it, but because I was like, well, he's our dog now, so like, so whatever they think. But yeah, there's a big part of like gaining his trust, building his confidence, and like he wouldn't even do stairs. Like with the stairs in the house here.
Wow.
He wouldn't come up. He wouldn't come in they stayed in a hotel the first night. So yeah, absolutely, I'd be. Maybe on one off. I know we're getting a little long, but I'd be interested to hear about some tips and tricks. Do you have any maybe since we're here already, the food part, do you find like there's a way around that, or is that like some dogs are just like really that's just hardwired in?
To eat all at once, you mean, or to like just devour it, or
A little bit of that, and like, you know, it took a lot of work. We're getting there, but like taking his bowl from him while he's engaged
he'll
in
growl?
eating, oh, he probably won't let you.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are ways to do that. Everything, yeah, that's something you definitely don't want. You should be able to put your hand right into your dog's dish while they're eating and have no problems whatsoever. So there are some things that you can do. You can, well, I'd have to kind of get the energy off the dog first to see what might work. I mean, you can try like slowly. What you can try, one thing that I've seen work is to actually hold the dog's food bowl
While he's eating.
Interesting. And to actually, what you do is to stop him from eating is you don't actually pull the food away, but you lift the food up out of his face. And, but you know, he's a big dog, so you got to be careful. And you're going to really see, you know, I'd like to meet him and see what kind of, see how aggressive.
He's a good boy.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's just like the food portion is when you
bonded with him more now. Like, how long have you had him?
We've had him for like, so he just turned 2 in September. So we got him, so just over, you know, we've had him like a year and a half, we'll say.
Yeah, that's cool. So you do have a bond, and definitely we need to do something, because that's not a good thing, because that guy can also be like, if he has a toy or something and other dogs are around, he might be the same way with those dogs. This is mine, and so he's got to learn how to share.
Yeah, I could say that about a little bit everybody out there, but yeah, man, he's definitely a work in progress, and I'm not anyone I'd never give it. I don't even care if he bit me. Like, I'd never give him up. Like,
I know it breaks.
Not that he would, and I don't want like people that are watching. He's a good boy, so if you see him, you can pet him.
Yeah.
But it was just like food. I don't know if they didn't feed him enough. If they like, I don't know. It's just hard to say. We didn't know the first year of his life. Yeah. That's huge when he's a puppy to a 80-pound giant schnauzer.
The cool thing is about dogs is that it's not that it doesn't matter what happened before, but dogs can always be trained out of what happened before, because with positive reinforcement and things like that, they can have habits that they've had for 10 years, and they can be trained out of it sometimes in a matter of days, depending on what it is. They're not like humans who we just fucking hang on to ideologies, or we hang on to so pain.
Tight. Yeah.
You know, we're not really willing to let go because we get caught in our head so much. Where dogs with the proper sort of leadership, they are able to let go. I think it's quite amazing, actually.
Yeah, well, not to get back on that note, but like, you know, Thor lasted the better part of 6-7 months on 3 legs.
Yeah, see? Yeah, exactly.
Like 4, I mean, man, when we got the clean bill of health the first time he went back to the vet that he had like no cancer visible, the vet was like, I was like, how much can we walk him? They're like, walk him as much as he wants. So we're like, oh, we'll do, we went to do this hike. It was up the Eastern Shore. Drawing a blank, the Taylor Head Provincial Park.
Okay.
It was like a 4K loop. Guy did it, no problem. And he wanted to, like, we didn't force him. Like, he wanted to go. Like, he was always like, he was ready. You could tell, man, like, he just adapted. And it was like in a matter of a day between like when we brought him for the vet, like, and obviously we had like mattresses in the living room floor. We like slept in the living room floor with him because we didn't want to like make him uncomfortable on the bed. And one day Caitlin went to the washroom, and like she'd leave the door ajar so she could listen. And he was like, no, I need to go wherever mom is. And he just got up and he was like, I'm going. And he went. So it was just like, it was amazing to see. It was, you know, it was all kinds of things, but like he didn't care. He wasn't like, frig my leg. What did you do?
Yeah. And now I identify myself as a 3-legged dog, and now I'm unable to do what other dogs do.
Right.
Now I'm a victim because I lost my leg, and everyone should feel sorry for me. And this is really important, actually. They bring it up because you guys did the right thing. You guys just treated him like a regular dog. You said, we're going for a walk, you're going for a walk, you know? And because that's the only time that dogs do, you know, get weird, is if the the pet parents are being weird. Like you're like, oh, you poor thing. Like, yeah. And you're just like, it's like, what the fuck? I guess something's wrong with me.
Right.
Like, I don't know what's what. They might not even know it's their legs. They might just be like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm broken somehow.
Right.
Oh my God.
They can tell it's out of the
They
norm.
can tell. They're really good with energy. I mean, they can smell, they smell fear. They can smell sickness. They feel excited. If you're excited, they'll get excited. It's one of the things I posted just a little video about how to greet dogs for the first time.
Yeah.
One of the most important things is controlling your energy. Because if you go in there all excited,
Fired up.
you don't know what that excitement is going to be interpreted as in the dog. Maybe they're an excited dog and they're just like happy and stuff, and they'll just be like, oh, that's fine. But if they're nervous at all and they see that excitement, they can easily interpret that as something else. And that's one of the things that we really try to teach is the energy that you present yourself with. And the cool thing about when you're like have this calm confidence energy is it really goes over to all the other aspects of your life, because everybody responds really well to calm confidence versus kind of wacky kind of energy or unbalanced energy or whatever. So it's a great lesson it's a great thing to practice with your dog, and then you'll find, I found it with myself, it just carries over into all other aspects of our life. As human beings, we also are attracted to energies. We feel energies like dogs do. I mean, I think they're a little more sensitive than we are, but we still feel them. You can walk into a room and feel the energy of the room as soon as you walk
immediately.
in. So, and dogs feel that. Maybe, I don't want to put a number on. I was going to say tenfold, but I can't really quantify that.
Who knows? They can definitely have a higher in-tune sensitivity to it.
Smell, because we release pheromones and things depending on our
can't see
activity
that or
level.
sense that.
Yeah. It's certainly not like that.
Yeah, maybe a lot of ours is like subconsciously, maybe more than like being aware of it. Yeah, crazy, man. Absolutely. Well, I think that's a great place to wrap it up.
Sure.
I really appreciate you coming on. Really appreciate you sharing with me, what you've been doing. Because when we first met, we was like bodybuilding, and it was the Advanced Genetics AG Army, I remember. And next thing now, you got, you did a book. You're still a personal trainer. You're a dog trainer. You got all these awesome projects on the go, and seem to be doing them all for the exact right reasons. So I really appreciate you coming on, sharing that with us. So for those that are watching, where can they find you online? Do you want to kind of plug that in?
Yeah, sure. So for the supplements, you can go to agarmy.com. You'll probably be able to find them at your local supplement store as well. For the Happyology book, pick up a free copy, just shipping. It's happyologybook.com. I have another website called GaiaFitness.net where I have some training options and nutrition programs and that sort of stuff available. My personal Instagram is ChrisJohnson_IFBB the website, it's not up yet for the dog training, but it's bethealphadog.com, and that's the same as the Instagram handle is also bethealphadog. And you can find Advanced Genetics on Instagram, Advanced Genetics, I think it is, or AG Army. I think it's Advanced Genetics.
I think it's Advanced Genetics.
You can find it. I'm easy to find.
Absolutely. Yeah, because you've got all your profiles on your main one too. So yeah.
Yeah, and please reach out if you have any questions about anything. I'm happy to answer them for you, whether it's nutrition, whether it's the Happyology stuff or dogs.
Awesome.
I love it.
Yeah, well, I love hearing about it. I thank you for that. I'll be interested to follow along and hopefully probably pick up a few dog tips. And I'd love to have you on again when you got some new stuff to tell us about. I'm sure you'll have something else by the time we connect back in. So
hopefully your wife's home soon with the dog. So
I think so. I think, she should be pretty close. So I only told her an hour and a little bit over. Okay, so hopefully we get that opportunity. So thanks again. We're going to wrap it up here. Have a great day, everyone. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
I can't take no loss.